modern parents might be familiar with the term parenting behind your being your child's friend. That's what it means, basically. If you're not, let's get good old Phil Dumfrey from Modern Family to explain a bit better.
Things with your mom got pretty intense down there, huh? All like East Coast, West Coast, you feel me?
Act like a parent, talk like a peer. I call it parenting.
Dad, is there something you want?
Yes, there is. To connect with this girl right here. Now, come on, pretend I'm not your dad. We're just a couple of friends kicking it in a juice bar.
What's a juice bar?
Okay, a malt shop, whatever.
I love it. Well, parenting expert Michael Grose is here to explain why it's important not to get too caught up in trying to be your child's friend. Hi, Michael. I see myself, well, I've realised I can't be my child's friend because I'm a bit witchy-poo as a mum. And I keep saying, I'm not your friend, I'm your mother. But that's probably a bit harsh, isn't it?
Well, it's not a bad thing to actually say to kids, to let them know that you are their parent.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit spooky when we as adults act a little bit like kids or don't feel like we can sort of step into the authority of being a mum or a dad. So that's the whole notion of, being a parent is about two things. You want to have a good relationship with your kids, but you also want to step into that notion of being an authority. And I reckon kids want that too. It's pretty scary.
Does that mean you have to accept that it's unequal?
Oh, yes, yeah. And we've lost that to a degree. It's a bit of a flat earth, but families don't work that way. They're fairly hierarchical. So kids like to know that they've got a parent. It makes them feel secure. It makes them feel that they can sort of stretch out and there's someone who's going to make the hard calls for them. Particularly at different ages of their lives.
Even as a kid, I remember the dad that tried to be too kind of cool, which is very uncool, rang alarm bells. It's like, you're not right.
It is like that, and the notion of being a parent sort of makes you a little bit older, and often we don't want to be older, and it's not a cool thing.
That's the whole problem, isn't it? It's more our problem.
It is.
Before we go into some of the markers that can help us recognise whether we're trying to be our kid's friend, can we talk about specifically why do kids want and need boundaries?
Because childhood is a stage of life where they don't make great decisions. They need someone to make decisions for them. I say they have L plates. Kids have L plates, and the older they get, they're learning how to socialise, they're learning how to learn at school, they're learning a whole bunch of stuff, and they get it wrong a lot of the time. So they need parents to actually set some boundaries for them. Also, if you've got boys have got two things on their mind. What are the rules and who's in charge?
Yeah, okay.
So, and they learn that way. And you watch boys in a playground and they'll play a little game and they'll put 3 or 4 rules around them, and so they'll also push against them as well. And if you look at the contract which kids are born with, when they are born they've got a little contract, and right down the bottom there's you better have a backbone, because if you don't have a backbone I'm going to find out if you've got one at some stage. So the notion of being a parent as opposed to a parent is really not having that backbone to a degree.
Well, I think a lot of the time it's unintentional, Michael, so there'll be a lot of parents watching today going, oh, I don't know whether I am trying to be their friend. Can you give us some tips? What are some of the signs that we're trying to be friends rather than parents?
One of my all-time signs is when I hear parents say that my child tells me everything. That always worries me. The second thing is that often kids become embarrassed about what you do. And often we really struggle to say no as parents, and we often avoid the discipline. We'll push it to our other partner, wait till your dad comes home, or we'll defer it to teachers. We often take on their problems. So if kids leave their lunch at home, we go and take it up for them because poor kid. So we take on a lot of their problems, and also we allow kids to have too much of a say at home. So often I see in families, particularly small families, kids will often rule the roost, and so we need to actually sort of take the crown off kids' heads.
Can I just say that surely all parents, Michael, want to take on their kids' problems?
I don't know. I don't really agree with a lot do, and I don't think that's the greatest way to go, because our job as a parent, it always has been, hasn't changed with us. It's starting to change now. Your job as a mum and dad is to make yourself redundant from the earliest possible age. It's to do yourself out of a job. And in lots of ways...
What's that philosophy?
Take that one. I'll just say that one again, actually. Your job as a parent is to make yourself redundant from the earliest possible age.
I'm done.
You're done.
So many get that, Michael.
I know.
And even as adults, that's the issue. Even as adults, and then you look at marriages and whatever, is that the parents are still trying to put their needs onto their children.
And a lot of it's about family size. Families families operate well in a tribal sense. So when you get a larger family, it's more about the whole gang. And if you're a mum and a dad, you're not really a parent, and you want to make yourself redundant because you're so tired. As you get smaller families, we take on a lot of their responsibilities, and it's easy to do it for themselves rather than step back. So a bit of a challenge for modern parents.
Can we go back to the example that I love that Jane sort of said, which I think a lot of parents can relate to, is the kid forgets their lunch.
Okay.
The default, as what you're thinking being as good parents, oh my God, I've got to rush the lunch up to them at the school.
Or something that they were supposed to remember to take sports uniform.
And whose job is it? I mean, big family, if you had a big family mindset, you probably wouldn't even know if the lunch has been left at home. So that's one of the issues. And the whole job is that we've all got two parents inside of us. We've got the good parent and the responsible parent. And the good parent is the one who takes a lunch up because I don't want my child to sort of go without. And the responsible parent is the one who realises that there's an opportunity for my child to sort of beg, borrow, hopefully not steal, to get a lunch.
Yeah.
But if you want your kids to be resourceful, you need to actually create the space for them to solve some of their own problems and to become, you know, resilient in lots of ways.
I actually did talk about this. I was reading the research last night next to my 10-year-old daughter, and I said, so am I overreacting if I take lunch? She goes, yeah, Mum, that's fine. I would just ask a teacher, or I just, you know, would get some money and then probably get some from the tuck shop. In fact, that would be really good if you forget my lunch.
Now, Michael, can we quickly go to some suggestions for allowing your family connectedness to develop?
All right, look, we do want relationships with our kids, and we know the highest driver for Aussie parents is having a great relationship. Kids tell us we like to have family rituals, meal times, shared meal times, make sure you have those. Create opportunities for one-on-one time. Often dads don't have one-on-one time with their kids. They only have a relationship through their partner. So make sure you spend some time with your kids, and don't be a family on the run. Create some downtime. And what happens in downtime, which is sort of like a Sunday afternoon when nothing much happens, we start to connect and have a bit of fun with each other.
Yeah, that's
so there's
a good
some of
one.
the essentials as well.
And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to make it bigger than Ben-Hur and go on an excursion. Can it be that you all decide to sit down and watch a family movie together?
Or do nothing.
Or do nothing.
Okay.
We're not very good at doing
so
nothing.
So what, just no stimulation, just sitting there and talking?
Or help Mum clean the oven?
Or can be doing... Well, I'll tell you what, that's not such a bad thing.
That's initiative, I like that.
Look, it is. We get really freaked out. You know, the worst thing that a parent hates to hear from their kids is, Mum, on board. We become their kids' home entertainment machines. Sometimes we've got to get really comfortable with just doing nothing on a Sunday afternoon. And what happens is, and the research shows us that we start to connect, we start to loosen up, we start to become a little bit like Phil and loosen up as parents as well, and we start to do dumb, stupid things with our kids just because that's what we do.
Yeah. So what would your response be if your kids said to you when they were younger, Dad, on board?
Yeah, good point. I'm so far back I've got to remember, but my response would be, let's perhaps do something together, or here, try these 2 or 3 things.
Yeah.
You know, boredom is an opportunity to keep yourself occupied, which is a life skill which we all need to learn. So that's something, again, when we talk about redundancy, the notion of making yourself redundant is not always being the one who keeps your kids occupied.
Yeah, not being the cruise director.
Yeah, you've got to give them opportunities just to do whatever it is.
Whenever my kids are bored, I put on a breakdancing recital for them. They love it every time. Would you please thank parenting expert Michael Grose? And good news for our studio audience. You each get the 4-disc set of Season 2 of Modern Family to take. Thanks to 20th Century Fox for that. Now, coming up, the week's fashion hits and misses, but right now, let's see what's offer from Nikki.